in this video, we will be going through the unit of competency TAEDEL411, Facilitate Vocational Training, assessment tasks number 1 to number 8. So task number 1, as always, please have a look at the learner guide to answer the underpinning knowledge for this unit of competency. Please read the questions really carefully because most of the time you will be able to copy and paste, but other times you will need to list, explain, and do additional research perhaps. Okay, task number 2. This is where we're looking at the performance evidence for this unit of competency. And it consists of you delivering 5 sessions all up. So out of that 5, 3 which are consecutive group sessions for a minimum of 4 candidates. If I were you, I will plan for more because what if one of those candidates were actually sick or away or if something came up? Now, the other 2 is for individuals, which was not part of the first group session. So that's 5 30-minute sessions all up. These sessions need to be delivered face-to-face. And if you want some tips and pointers on how to deliver to adults, I recommend you have a look at Malcolm Knowles' Adult Learning Theories. The units need to be coming from training.gov.au. This is non-negotiable. It has to be from training.gov.au. That is the register for nationally training products. So we want you to use one unit of competency and different parts of the unit. So session 1, you really want to be looking about the theory, the knowledge, and session 2, we want to be looking about the skills, the performance, and session number 3 is to do with a problem-solving type of activity. So that also covers contingency management. As always, we need to know who our learners are. So there will be particular things such as disabilities. Sometimes they may disclose that to you, other times they will not. So you need to be aware that as part of being a great trainer and assessor, you really want to be observing your candidates throughout to make sure that you're picking up on cues or whether the learner needs extra help or not. And this is the same with language literacy and numeracy. We're looking at this very briefly, not in an in-depth way, so you can always have a look at the foundation skills in the unit to know what the unit is emphasizing in terms of the language literacy and numeracy component, and if your learners are struggling with it or not. Okay, so with work health and safety, you need to be able to have a look at the workplace that you are in because you are responsible for your learners' health and safety. So if it's constantly the same place, same equipment, everything's the same, chemicals, etc., same type of cohort of learners, then it's not going to vary too much in terms of your hazard register or what you need to do to keep everyone safe. I would always suggest you put this into your housekeeping, in your session plans, just so that you're ensuring that your learners are also aware of it too, and they are also responsible for their safety as well as each other's. Okay, now task number 3. This is exciting stuff. I really love resource development because it enables me to exercise my creativity. And believe it or not, you also have this creative bone. It's just that we don't often exercise it. And how do we normally teach? We normally teach the way that we learn things. Now, what I'm challenging you to do is, of course, you can go and source these resources from the internet or from your organization. But what I'm saying is that perhaps you want to challenge yourself and rip up what you've learned in the past and have a look at the unit of competency and design things from scratch. Now, I'm sure you may have heard of the experiment where a bunch of grasshoppers were put into a glass box with a glass ceiling, and what do grasshoppers do? They jump up and down, can't break through the glass, of course. But then what happens when this glass is taken off? You got it. So the grasshoppers also jump to a certain level and they don't jump beyond that. So what am I saying here is that maybe, just maybe, you have got so much within you as not just a learner, but now an expert, that you can be creative to actually see both sides of the spectrum and make learning so much more fun and better for your learners as well. So, not saying rip up whatever it is that you've learned in the past. I'm just saying that sometimes starting from scratch is not so bad. Now, we need you to develop a slide deck. Why? Because you, as a trainer and assessor, need to have digital skills. Okay, so if you don't, great, learn, right? So we know that there are going to be some things that we're not great at. I've got plenty of things I'm not great at. And that's the reason why when I identify something I'm not good at, but it's important for my role, I'm going to go do some research and learn. Hey, it could even be part of your professional development plan. So create that slide deck, ensure that you cover certain things like housekeeping and also introduce yourself. And I would always look at starting with the why, like why are the learners here? Because it all ties back into adult learning theories. I mean, adults need to know why they're doing something. And if they don't, sometimes they'll go, well, I don't want to do this. Oh, why am I doing this? Well, I've done this already. I really want. And you don't want to start the class like that. So the other thing you want to also have is some sort of handout. Now, this handout is really to do with ensuring that your learners learn. Okay, so it's just an extra resource for them. And who doesn't like something that they can actually hold or write and make notes on? Okay, so the other thing is assessments. Now, if session 1 is theory-based, well, then you've got to think what is going to be the most appropriate assessment method. It most likely will be something like a Q&A, short answers, multiple choice, fill in the blank. So something that will allow them to demonstrate what's in here. What have they learned exactly? Now, session number 2 is about a practical. So something like a procedure would be fantastic, a step-by-step, what to do, how to change the oil in something, or how to change whatever it is. I don't know why we're changing things all the time here, but in other words, for them to demonstrate a certain skill. Now, you'll need a handout, and of course, the most appropriate assessment method for a practical would be something like an observation checklist. Sometimes it could be them writing out certain documents, for example, in which case you may get them to send in a portfolio of evidence. Imagine if our unit was about cabinet making and the learners were just sending in cabinets. Might not actually work for our RTO. You may need to think about what sort of assessment tools you can then use to file that evidence away in an RTO. Okay, so session number 3 was about problem solving. Now, you could utilize a group activity resource and also double that up as an observation checklist if you wish. Now, I do caution you with group assessment always, because group assessments makes it really hard to be fair. And the reason being is that how are you going to ensure that each candidate had the exact same opportunity? The other thing is our brains can, well, my brain can barely think or focus on just one thing. So how can I focus and be fair to assess 4 learners at the same time? Impossible for me, okay? So let's have a look at contextualization. Now, the reason why I caution also against the resource being a video is because unless you have created several different versions of the video yourself, you cannot really source that from someone somewhere and say that you've actually contextualized it. Contextualization in VET is super important. It demonstrates that you are being flexible, and it demonstrates that you are ensuring that you are catering to your audience, to your learners. It's not the same as reasonable adjustments. This is actually making the content, the delivery, so that it is more meaningful to your candidates. They may have past experience, they may work for a certain company or an industry where you can tailor your learning as well as your assessments to them so that it makes it more meaningful and enjoyable. Once again, coming back to the adult learning theory side of things. Okay, we're up to task number 4 now. Task number 4 is about session planning. Oh, I love a really good session plan. And a good session plan will tell me basically the logistics of things, the who, what, when, why, and how of things. For you, just you, or for someone like a new trainer. Now, I want the details as much as possible as though you are developing the session plan for a new trainer. So as an example, when you say icebreaker, what icebreaker are we talking about? How is this going to be delivered? How long do we have this to deliver this part here? And all of those other details, as well as where they can actually get it and so forth. So it's not good enough just to go icebreaker. We need to break that down. And one way you can actually do that is think of it as you're having a conversation, even like explain whatever theory, go through or discuss. Put the question out there and actually write the question. What does this new trainer need to be reminded of in terms of asking questions and facilitating and even formative assessments? So at certain points within the session, what you want to be doing is ensuring that the candidate does understand. Otherwise, what is the point of training if your audience doesn't understand what you're talking about? And use activities. They're the most fun ways of doing things, is having activities, some short snippets of videos, and questioning, of course, and taking in all the experience that your audience has into your session. But you need to plan that, because if you don't, it's so easy to forget to do just that. Okay, so as I mentioned before, we need to do 3 sessions and they need to be all planned for. Now, some might say, but Kim, it only goes for 30 minutes. What can I do? How much more of this can I break up? Just do a running commentary in your brain and write it all out. Or if you like speech to text, then hit that button, record it, get it all populated so you know exactly what you're going to do at each section of your session. I don't really play cards myself, but I have had cards before when I tried to play and they were all mumbo-jumboed up and it made me an even worse player. So session plans are the same. You don't want to just go in there on the fly doing everything. But at the same time, let your sessions be flexible, not only to your learners, but to the situation, because sometimes things do pop up. Okay, so have your ducks lined up, or the numbers or suits or whatever they call them, but also have an element of flexibility always. Okay, now you're ready. Yay, have your handouts ready. Make sure you got your slide decks and your activities and your assessments ready. Please follow your session plan. If your session needs to go for 30 minutes minimum, but they can go over, okay? So minimum 30 minutes, that's non-negotiable, but you can go over, but ensure that you put that in your plan, okay? Now, the feedback forms, make sure that they're printed out, because to be honest, most people will fill it out then and there for you, but after the fact, they've gone and done something else. They ain't gonna think about you, okay? So you want to get your feedback completed then and there. And the other thing is, we have an observation checklist which we use to assess you. There is no secret here, as in terms of how we assess you. It's not going to be surprise, this is what we're going to assess you on. Okay, so it's all there, it's very clear. Please read the observation checklist that we use. Okay, so some video tips. Can we see your beautiful face, right? We want to see your face. We want to see your expression. We want to see how you are engaging with your audience, with your learners. The other thing is, I don't know about you, but when I can't hear very well and I got to press my ear against the speakers, it gets me a bit frustrated. So make your assessor happy. Let them hear clearly, what are you saying? Because chances are your topic is already foreign to me. So please let us hear you and make it easy for us to assess you. Now, the other thing we want to know is, can we confirm the number of candidates, and are they real? Are they people? And are they adults? Okay, so task number 5 is, as I mentioned before, have a look at the observation form. Think about the structure of your sessions. Is it going from easy and building that up to more difficult sessions? You want to think about the timing. Now, some people say time. Can I make a video that goes for 3 hours? Absolutely. Can I make a video that goes for days? Sure. Now, the only thing is that you need to plan for that. So as long as you plan for it, no issues at all. And the other thing you need to know is that we need to see how adaptable you are in terms of delivery. That's why we want to be able to see that you can deliver knowledge and theory. You can deliver something which is practical, as well as something which is a group activity that solves a problem or a challenge. We want to see engagement. What does that mean? Ask your learners questions. Get to a point where they feel so comfortable sharing information with you, with each other as well. And not only that, you want to be also asking whether they have any questions at certain points in your session as well. Facilitation does come back with engagement, but you want to be doing activities. Every single time I ask learners, what did you find most engaging in someone's presentation? And it's always an activity, something people can get involved in, something they can use your hands and do things or talk about. The other thing is managing behavior. Now, I don't really like saying like bad behavior, but sometimes someone in your class might be nodding off and you did absolutely nothing about it. Now, that's not okay, right? So if someone is nodding off, there's plenty of strategies to use, such as ask them by name. Hey, John, can you share some of your experience about da-da-da-da-da, right? Hey, John, what are your thoughts on what Susie just said? I'm kidding. Don't embarrass your learners, right? And don't put them in such a tough situation that they feel embarrassed and not included. It's not about shaming anyone at all. For all we know, John may have had to stay up all night because he has a newborn or something terrible had happened. Who knows? And he still made it to class, right? So always come in with the idea or the thought of curiosity. Okay, so we're not shaming, naming anybody, but it's more like bringing everything back because you are the center of the presentation. You need to always be in control to ensure that your candidates and your learners are gaining the most from what you're doing. And if, say, for example, you know about John's situation, or you don't need to tell everyone about it either. Okay, so please, confidentiality, that confidence that your learners have in you, you keep that, right? And you ensure that you don't violate that confidentiality. And that comes down with safety as well. Please, in your videos, if you are wearing no shoes and it's a barista course and somebody smashes a cup accidentally, of course, not out of anger, we want to see you clean up. Right? We want to see you being safe. Accidents happen all the time. Right? We can do oopsies, bloopers, I think we call them. That's fine. That's part of learning. That's part of facilitation. I love those bloopers, if anything. So please keep them in there, okay? But it's more about, hey, what did you do afterwards? What did you learn from that? Nothing wrong with it whatsoever, okay? All right, task number 6 now. Feedback. You will need to gather feedback, of course, from all your learners. Now, when you have many learners and their feedback, sometimes it can be quite confusing to navigate. But, we want to know overall how we are doing. I do get questions about, well, what happens if there is a learner that's extremely slow or extremely fast? Of course, there are strategies we can use, such as pairing people with, great at technology, not so great at technology. We could do many things, right? But even that, after that, they may not want to be there for whatever reason you may not be privy to. And so in which case you may get bad feedback. That is okay. You need to sort of distance yourself from that, personal, emotional side of things And because we know you want to do great, we know that you want to be assisting people. And sometimes we get feedback where we feel like we're not assisting or helping or teaching, blah, blah, blah. We might get a little bit, sad about it. But what I'm trying to say is that we can't control absolutely everything, okay? But when you get feedback, please try to act on it strategically, move on, and then apply that to the next class. Very important. We want to see that you have really taken consideration of your learners' feedback. Okay, task number 7 and 8. If you have completed the TAEDEL411, provide work skill instructions for the 2 individuals, then you can actually utilize those for this particular assessment task. Now, the only thing that really differs from this assessment task from the group session is that we want to be seeing some sort of pre-training discussion because it's one-on-one. You can afford that consultation because the learners will need more tailored approach because there's only one learner. You want to know what have they done, what haven't they done, where they need extra help on, and so forth. So you're both not wasting time, and it's only for 30 minutes. So you actually don't have a lot of time, should I say. So you really want to direct your time and resources really, really well. Now, post-training discussion, once again, similar to the pre-training, we want to know how they feel about it. What else could they do? Do we need to provide them with more homework or whatever it is to assist them in their learning journey? And the other thing that you should note is part C for task number 7 and 8, which is different than the TAEDEL411 provide work skill instructions. So whether you've done that unit or not, you will need to complete part C for task number 7 and 8. I hope this video has helped you in completing your assessment task for the unit of competency TAEDEL411. We will see you in another video for another unit.